This setting feels so silly and sweet and cute. I'm in New York and I'm filming this video in Jack's bedroom. I don't think this is an angle that he frequently uses, so welcome to this corner of Jack's bedroom. It is the 3rd of September, and do you know what that means? That means that it's time for the monthly report for everything that I read and watched in the month of August. Forgot what month we're in. It's now September. Oh, it's now September. It's my birthday soon. I've read one book in August because I was so truly very busy with editing my own novel and other things and other projects and content creation deadlines and that kind of thing. So I only read one book in August, which I initially was quite upset with myself for and felt a little bit defeated, but I mean, like, what else am I gonna do? There's deadlines and I have to write, so I'm not gonna consider August as a write-off for how many books I read. Just a, how do I put it? A detour. Anyway, the book that I read was pretty good. It was a profile on Louise Bourgeois, the artist, the incredible artist. It was just a little kind of biography by name on screen because I don't have the book with me, it's back in London. It was good, it was really good, it was a fresh perspective. I read a few biographies on Louise Bourgeois, but I found that one and I read it in the park in one sitting because I was waiting for a maid, if you will. So I read that, and if you don't know who Louise Bourgeois is, she was an incredible artist, very physical with her art. It's all very bodily and it's very much about being a woman and about being a daughter and about being a mother and just about filling these spaces, and she plays with texture and it's also incredible, and she's had a really interesting life, and that book provided some great context to one of my favourite artists. So that was the book that I read in August, the only book. I did, however, watch a lot of films. I will tell you what they are. I will. But first, a word from today's wonderful sponsor, Forever Relevant, and you know it's a good one, Squarespace. I've worked with Squarespace many times before, and I adore Squarespace because it is a platform that makes the whole process of creating and maintaining websites so seamless and, dare I say, enjoyable. I say this from personal experience because I wanted to give back to my community who support my creative endeavors, so I built an online literary and arts journal / lovely little arts community via Squarespace. You can submit your poetry, fiction, art, and essays to me based on the monthly prompts, and I just might publish your work. Squarespace is so great for turning passion projects into professional projects and morphing dreams and concepts into tangible realities. This is done simply by the Fluid Engine design system and Squarespace Blueprint, which is a guided design system to assist you in crafting a completely personalized website. There's elements I'm excited to eventually incorporate, like an online store with flexible payments. It's all so fun and easy to design, and you can so easily set up your own site too. Head to squarespace.com/Dakota Warren to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain using code Dakota Warren. And in August I watched 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 films. 11 films in August, so that's where my attention was rather than reading, I suppose. The first film that I watched was High and Low by John Galliano, which was a documentary about John Galliano's career progress. And if you don't know who Galliano is, he is a designer who's done many incredible, iconic runways. I'll put some photos up and you'll know. You might not have seen them, but if you haven't, you've seen them now, and they're very good, they're very incredible, very iconic. But the man himself, very, very, very problematic, crazy guy, and so it offered some insight into not just his career, but himself and his life, and perhaps trying to offer some insight as towards why he did and said the problematic things that he did. And then it's really kind of open to interpretation from the viewer's perspective as towards how they feel about it and how they interpret that. So that was, I think that was a well done documentary. I was very interested. The next film that I watched was Jefferson Circus Songs from 1975. This is the short. It's a short from Susan Pitt, 15 minutes long, and it's just this kind of these life-size cardboard, it's a fantasy world with these life-size cardboard animations where they interact with these children clad in clown wings and monkey masks and princess costumes, and it's this kind of carnival fever dream situation. I watched it because it was on Mubi, and Mubi told me to watch it, and you know what I say, I watch what Mubi tells me to watch. This one was a bit weird though. It made me feel like I was on hallucinogenics or psychedelics or something, which is probably the intention. I couldn't really gather the plot because there was just so many bright colours and crazy things happening. But I did have fun watching it. Not as much fun as I could have though. That was just a fun short to fill the time. I've started watching, you know when you eat a meal and you need to watch something? I've started watching short films rather than YouTube videos or that kind of thing because I feel like it enriches me more. The next film that I watched is another short. This is Sofia Coppola's first ever short, or her debut short I think even, from 1998 called Lick the Star, in which a clique of high school girls devise a secret plan that they codename Lick the Star. This was just so Sofia Coppola, and my review for this was Sofia Coppola has always been Sofia Coppola. She's always been that girl. She's always had that intensity of trying to depict girlhood and the way that girls interact together and the intricacies and delicacies of the insides of our minds and our lives. And this was just so quintessential Sofia Coppola. It really set the record for how she's going to do her future films. I didn't love it, but it was nice to see the consistency and the beginnings of everything. The next film that I watched was Bright Young Things, 2003, directed by Stephen Fry. I'm pretty sure it was his directorial debut, but I could be making that up. This is, Bright Young Things is based on a book by Evelyn Waugh, and it's a very good book. Evelyn Waugh? Evelyn Waugh. I always mix that up. It's set in the 1930s in England with a group of young socialites who have these kind of extravagant, outlandish, panache personas, and they're called bright young things because they're full of potential and character and this whole world behind them, but they've got so much money, they're full of money, that's the main thing. And there is absolutely a plot to this, but it's easy to get distracted by all the glitter and the glam, and I think that was the point, as is the life of a bright young thing. I think it was quite camp, forgive me if I'm using the term incorrectly, but if you've seen this film and watched it, I think you might agree with me. It was quite camp. Stephen Fry's directorial endeavours do seem to be quite camp in general, as do many of his acting endeavours. I'll never forget him playing Dorian Gray in that film. Watching this film as well was like seeing every single English actor that you've ever seen and loved all pop up suddenly in the same film, but they're all playing these gay rich characters who absolutely have so much personality, and it's really funny and interesting, and it's just a real oh kind of film, if that makes any sense at all. The next film that I watched was Brimstone, 2016, directed by Martin Koolhoven, and I watched this because it was on Mubi and it was one of the worst films I've ever watched. I say that with my chest. It was trauma porn from a director who clearly hates women, uses the classic preacher's daughter pipeline, which sucked me in. Sue me, it sucked me in, but it was just done so badly. There's just this really creepy dad who just wants to be inappropriate with all of his family members incestually, and uses religion as an excuse, but it's not done in a way that provides anything. It's just done for shock factor, and all the women just suffer and suffer and suffer and suffer, and it's just, there's just no point to it. The acting was also bad. The next film that I watched was Bolero, 2023. This is another short directed by Nans Laborde-Jodoin. I'm saying that wrong. It felt like watching a love spell. It's about this queer dancer, this artist, kind of exploring his identity in relation to others and where this desire will lead him. And it was all kind of a hallucination and an imagination and a scenario in one's head, but it felt like a love spell, it felt like a fever dream, and it was really unique, and I really enjoyed watching that. The next film that I watched was Frances Ha, 2012, directed by Noah Baumbach. This is about, I'm sure you've probably heard of this one, this is very popular, but it's new to me, it's new to my world. It's an aspiring dancer moves to New York City and becomes caught up in a whirlwind of flighty fair weather friends, diminishing fortunes and career setbacks. Basically, I think I'm a little bit too young to resonate with this film. This film is about, I mean, it's funny, I'm in New York City right now, but it's about someone, I think she's in her 30s, her early 30s or something, so I'm not quite there at the point of having this be-all end-all mentality when it comes to career and that kind of thing. And she's very lost. Ultimately, the protagonist, Frances, is very, very lost. She doesn't really know what she wants to do. I've always known what I wanted to do, and so I can't, everyone watches this film and says, oh, it's just so quintessential for watching your 20s, and it's just not for me. It's not. I didn't resonate with it, but I appreciate the beauty of it, and some of the script, the dialogue was absolutely gorgeous. That scene, I also love that it's in black and white, but that scene where she has this monologue about when you see someone at a party and you know you love each other and it's not meant to be, and that kind of thing.
It's that thing when you're with someone and you love them and they know it and they love you and you know it, but it's a party and you're both talking to other people and you're laughing and shining, and you look across the room and catch each other's eyes, but not because you're possessive or it's precisely sexual, but because that is your person in this life. And it's funny and sad, but only because this life will end and it's world there. Mention all around, but we don't.
That was really, really gorgeous. I also like that it's homage to friendship, adult friendships specifically, which are so different to non-adult friendships. But I think it's a great film, and it was kind of magic. You'll get the quote, and but I think I have to come back and watch it when I'm at the age or space when I'm in the same kind of world as the characters, because it's just not, I'm not. The next 4 films that I watched were all on the flight from London to New York, which is 8 hours, and I booked my flight, it was chaotic, and so I didn't get to choose my seat, and I was in between people. I was sandwiched right in the middle between people, and they had their arms up and I just couldn't get my laptop out, and reading just felt weird because the book that I was reading, that I'm still currently reading, was quite inappropriate, and I didn't want people to look over my shoulders, and so I just watched films for the entire 8 hours because I can't sleep on flights. Fun fact about me, I've never been able to, never will be able to sleep on flights. So I was just watching films. And so the first film that I watched was A Zone of Interest 2023, directed by Jonathan Glazer. I've been wanting to watch this since it came out, but haven't had the chance to. This was brilliant, truly. As everyone says that this is wonderful. It's so jarring because it doesn't overtly say anything. It's all about what's implied, and so you have to come to these horrible conclusions and things in your head, and that's why it gets on your skin and gets in your head, because you have to really think about it. It's about the commandant of Auschwitz and his wife, who build a dream life for their family in a house next to the camp, and for them this is normal because they don't, it's life for them. And so the wife is planting this garden and raising their children, and you can hear the screams and the horrors as she's doing this, and it's just so jarring because it's so real. Everyone says that this film is absolutely brilliant, and so I expected nothing less than brilliant, and it was truly brilliant. Also, I love Sandra Hüller. I think that she is one of my favorite actresses. Everything she's in is so good, and she just plays the most stark characters. It's really wonderful. There's this one line where she's gardening and she's showing her mother around her garden, and you can hear in the background the screams coming from Auschwitz, and she says, they're talking about the vines, and she says the vines will grow and cover it all, talking about the house, but it doesn't, she's not talking about the house, she's talking about how people will forget about the Holocaust, and it's really lovely. The next film that I watched is Goodfellas, 1990. I have seen this before, but evidently a long time ago because I hadn't logged it in my Goodreads, but this was a rewatch, and I love it. I love this film so much. I give it 4.5 stars and a little love heart. I love this film so much. I'm just a sucker. Sue me, I'm a sucker for a bunch of men in suits doing gangster stuff. Sue me, that's my type. This is set over 3 decades of life in the mafia, directed by Martin Scorsese, so you know it's gonna be fun. You know that really iconic line, I always knew I wanted to be a gangster. Yeah, that's the current new vocal fixation for me. I keep on walking around saying I always wanted to be a gangster. My friends are like, okay, Dakota, oh, you write poetry and wear ballet flats, but you can have fun being a gangster. The next film that I watched is Immaculate 2024. directed by Michael Moen. This is that Sydney Sweeney film that everyone was talking about, that she campaigned really hard to get made. It was one of the worst films I've ever watched. Again, I had to see what the fuss was about, and also watching this between two people was really funny because it's really violent and sexual and everything all at once. It's about an American nun who decides to join a remote convent in the Italian countryside. Naturally, some unspeakable horrors occur. It was just so bad. It's just how many it's so cliche and predictable and done. This thing has been done a million times over. The whole Catholicism, nuns, scary, underlying scary things. If you're gonna do it well. Evil nun films, enough evil nun films. If you're gonna do it well. The next film that I watched was Freud's Last Session, 2023, directed by Matt Brown. September 3rd, 1939, the world is on the brink of war. C.S. Lewis and Sigmund Freud have a conversation about the existence of God. Freud's dying. C.S. Lewis is kind of doubting his religion a little bit. He wasn't born a devout Christian, but he becomes a devout Christian after the war. Very common. And they kind of argue about the existence of God because Freud claimed to be vehemently anti-religion, but then he said a lot of things that went against that. And this conversation is semi-mythological. It was known that a great writer slash professor visited Freud shortly before he died, but it's not known if it was C.S. Lewis. So this is kind of like a fictionalized thing. But some of the dialogue was gorgeous. I mean, I think I gave it 2.5 stars. It wasn't anything mind-blowing, but some of the dialogue was really lovely. Anthony Hopkins, I like him, but I just feel like it wasn't his shining role. I think it would be better read as a script to a book, if you know what I mean. Maybe I'm just biased because I like books. That's all the books and films that I watched and read in August, and it is currently 2:36 p.m. in New York, and I have 3 friends waiting for me to jump over the bridge and get to Manhattan and play with them. I don't know if my outfit works though, and so I'm kind of putting it off because I don't know. Does this whatever. I will speak to you in September.